Welcome back to episode 3 of Uncorked. I am Boxer along with our co-host Sal Carfagna, and with him his brother again this week for our 3rd episode. Want to welcome back Carmen. Hey guys, welcome.
Hey Boxer, happy to be here.
Welcome back, Boxer.
Well, thank you. And something smells really delicious here, guys. What is that in the pan there? It's not a pan, but...
Well, for timing's sake, we got the cooking started early this week. And this is our mozzarella stuffed meatballs that have been simmering in vodka sauce for about a solid hour now.
Wow, it just smells just absolutely scrumptious. So we'll be able to eat those before the end of the podcast, or
absolutely.
Maybe
This is what it's all about, man. We need that live reaction from you.
There you go.
We're 2 for 2 right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Let's keep the ball rolling.
Well, as we mentioned at the start, this is Uncorked. This is a podcast that celebrates all things that happen at Carfagna's. Carfagna's, if you don't know, I haven't heard the other podcast, has a rich history in Columbus as a small business since 1937. If you've never been here, of course, they're located on Gemini Place. They have their restaurant, their marketplace, their delicious bakery. And just a reminder, too, that you can find us, and maybe you have already, on the iHeartRadio app. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also on YouTube, if you want to see the visual of this. Now, Sal and Carmen, I completely understand. You want to see those visuals. Me, maybe not so much. But anyway, the YouTube version, and Alex, of course, who's behind the scenes, does a fantastic job of that. So, we're going to talk, gentlemen, about sauce history. We're going to talk about meatballs. Am I missing anything for today? Is anyone uncorking the wine?
I was going to say the only thing we're missing right here is the uncork.
All right, let's do the honors.
It's the podcast namesake, right?
I know, exactly.
So if you want to go ahead and plug this wine here while I pop it.
Absolutely. So today we are going to be drinking a Chianti Classico Reserva. This is from Casa Emma and Chianti Classico.
3, 2, 1. Yay!
It's a 2017 Chianti Classico Reserva. Chianti is a 100% Sangiovese wine, and Chianti is located in Tuscany. So again, we're talking about wines from Italy, right? They do not take on the name of the grape as we do here in America, right? A Napa Cab. Right, So in Napa, Cabernet Sauvignon, right? That's the wine that we're drinking, or Chardonnay. In Italy, they actually take the name of the region or the town that it's made in, and this is Chianti Classico. So this is Sangiovese from Chianti, Italy, and then Classico shows that it's an even smaller area in Chianti. So Chianti. The broad region of Chianti, I say broad, it's a small area, right?
Yeah.
And then Chianti Classico comes from an even smaller area located within that greater Chianti area. And then the Reserva aspect of it makes it even more special. Now, the government, I guess, controls this. We've talked about this in other podcasts, right? And you can see the DOCG label on here.
At the very top.
So
okay.
that means that this is guaranteeing you that we talked about it in the San Marzano tomatoes. Do you remember the little medallion?
Yes.
So that was the DOP, right?
Yes.
So this is the DOCG label. DOCG meaning that this is Sangiovese that's coming from Chianti, Chianti Classico even. And then that it's also made the proper way that Chianti Classico Reserva is made. So they have very specific guidelines on when it's picked, how it's fermented, in the containers that it's fermented, how it's aged, everything that goes into it before it's put into a bottle. And then the government actually goes in there, they regulate all of that to make sure that they're doing it the proper way, so that the integrity of the wine or the food is not altered in any way. The passion and love for food in Italy is so revered that even the government gets in control and makes sure monitors everything that it's the proper way.
You are listening to Uncorked. This is the Uncorked podcast. We're, of course, taping from Carfagna's off Gemini Place here in Columbus. Carfagna's has been around since 1937. And each week, or I should say each time we do a podcast, each episode, we bring you different things. And we're going to be doing more of a deep dive into their sauces and the manufacturing. And Carmen, Sal's brother, is going to be speaking more on that, the sauce history on top of it. Hey, just a question, since we're still on the wine, if you don't mind, either of you. When it comes to the Americanized wine, why did we decide to do things differently than what Italy does with naming it after their regions? I actually like that approach.
Why did we get rid of the metric system? Well,
how much time do we have here, Sal?
I think for simplicity's sake, it's most places, most winemaking around the world does it the way that we do it, right? The Italians are very specific on how their wine is named and produced. So yeah. I think it's more of an Italian thing. The French have that way as well. You talk about Bordeaux styles wines. Bordeaux is that Cab Franc, Merlot, basic 3 wines, right? Blended. Yeah. And then it has to be certain percentages of this to be classified as a Bordeaux wine. And then Bordeaux wines are only made in Bordeaux, France, right?
Okay.
Champagne is made in Champagne, France, right? But it's the Pinot Noir grape, right? Mm-hmm. It's made with Champagne is actually sparkling Pinot Noir.
One thing you've mentioned before on other episodes, Sal, is that Carfagna's has wines from all over the world, and that's the great thing about coming to your wine department is you can get wines from anywhere around the world. Just out of curiosity, we've also talked about your partnerships with local farmers here in Ohio. What about Ohio wineries? Do you have partnerships there too?
Well, it's growing.
Okay.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
Most of that, it's really hard to have distribution. We will have, what is it? Is it Heinen's? We do have one that's on the shelf. Most Ohio wines are sweet wines.
Okay. Yeah.
You might be able to look it up and see if
Alex is going to look it up here.
I believe it's Heinen's Winery in Ohio. Type in Ohio Winery HE and it should pop up.
And I threw you a curveball, and I didn't mean to throw you a curveball, but
it's not a curveball because the wine Ohio Winery. There's a lot of history in Ohio and wines produced here.
Okay.
The majority of it comes from the Lake Erie area up on the islands.
Okay.
All those islands they have a bed of limestone, and so what that.
Oh yeah,
they have the islands up there in Lake Erie. Catawba has a few wineries. Middle Bass Island. So, anyways, they all sit on a bed of limestone, and what that does is it helps like insulate the earth, so they give them a longer grow season.
Oh wow!
Right, and so you get those beautiful Ohio peaches up in Catawba Island.
Right,
and they have such a rich soil up there because of that limestone, but they have that longer grow season. So you get it's a really great, I guess it's a great spot to grow certain grapes.
Yeah.
Right. And like Sal was saying, most of the grapes that grow really well up there are going to be sweeter wines, and there's definitely a market for that. But a lot of these manufacturers and these winemakers are not doing huge productions. So it's not really something that you can get a lot of. There's some out there, and like Sal said, it's growing. And we'd love to carry every Ohio wine we can as long as there's a market for it, and as long as people are drinking.
And Carmen and Sal, that's the one thing I was curious is
Heinemann's,
Heinemann's?
Heinemann's.
Heinemann's, okay.
Heinemann's is on Put-in-Bay, so it's up on is that South Bass
Island.
South Bass Island, yeah.
Predominantly sweet wines. But here's the unique history about those wineries up there. They were first created by the German monks that first settled here in Ohio.
Oh, wow.
Very, very old. Heinemann's winery actually is since 1888.
Wow.
But the German monks, they brought the first grapes to Ohio, and their first grapes were Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, which is pretty unique. And everybody's kind of like thinking, wow, why don't we grow those, right? And I personally wish that they would, but again, the consumer is driving that demand. But if you look on the lines of longitude, right, or latitude, latitude, right?
Yeah.
That same parallel line on the Earth is where like Washington State is, where those islands are at.
Oh,
and Washington
okay.
State grows some fantastic Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon. So the idea is, why can't we have that grow over here, especially with the limestone that Carmen was mentioning?
Yeah.
That
Which I didn't know about.
It
Wow.
insulates the earth, so when it starts to freeze and frost, the water that is trapped within those limestone takes longer to freeze because it's at that warmer temp. And so they get in a artificial, I say artificial, it's natural, but longer growth season because the ground takes longer to freeze up there. So that's why you get this nice fruit growth, the pears and the plums, apples, peaches, especially the Catawba peaches are very, very
What's really cool
delicious.
though too, Boxer, is that if we go up to the islands pretty frequently,
Okay.
and if you pull up on like the shoreline of Middle Bass Island, there's actually some spots where Cabernet grapes are growing wild because they were planted so long ago.
Wow.
And there's an abundance of grapes up there that they're still growing wild. So you pull up on the shoreline and you're looking like, those look like grapevines. You get up there like, that's Cabernet Sauvignon. And so they're still growing wild out there. It's like,
It's crazy. Are these grapes, by the way, are these grapes you can eat?
Oh,
Could
yeah.
you
Oh,
pick
yeah.
up
You
and
were
just
absolutely-
up there. We were actually on a little cove off of North Bass up there, and my dad was the one who spotted it. Of course,
North
of course.
Bass. I said Middle Bass. It was North Bass.
North Bass.
Middle Bass
Okay.
does have those
Yeah.
wineries
They
up
do.
there.
They have the wineries, yeah.
The one that famously, collapsed. What's
Yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The
remember
tragedy. But anyways, on North Bass, we were in the cove, and it was like, those look like grapevines up there, and we, swam up to the shore and we're picking them, and my dad's like, sure enough, he's like, that's Cabernet Sauvignon, and there's just growing wild up there. It's like somebody needs to step in and preserve that history and
Absolutely.
and take care of those grapes. And whoever's listening, if you can listen to it and you have some pool up there, my goodness gracious, it's like,
There you go.
That'd be great. But
Sal and Carmen Carfagna are with us. Of course, this is our third episode of Uncorked. And guys, I know you don't own wineries. We got on kind of a tangent there of wineries and vineyards. But just a quick question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but California versus Ohio, we obviously have a winter here. How much production do we lose to like a California vineyard? Who are they still producing wines in the wintertime? That's what I'm curious about versus us.
That's a good question, Boxer.
I don't know. And if you don't, it's okay.
I'm not. I don't have enough knowledge to answer that confidently.
Sure.
But I mean, I will tell you that their growth season is a lot longer. Because it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't freeze and snow over there. But the life cycle of a grape is the same.
Okay.
Right? But it's just about
that helps.
the abundance and how fruitful and how good the wines are and which grapes grow, and certain grapes grow in certain climates and certain soils, and they're better in certain ways. And so California has that, right? So I would say that they have it at abundance, so they can grow a lot more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I didn't expect you guys to get into it too much, but it was just a curiosity question that I had.
Yeah, and in California too, a much more consistent climate, right?
Yeah, right,
We have
right.
bad winters, and then we have mild winters, and I think that plays a lot into it as well. Talking about the abundance and talking about the production, the yield that they get every year and year out, it's pretty predictable on those grapes over there in Napa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get too much rain and it can ruin a whole crop.
Yeah. Hey, one of our themes for this podcast is the sauce and the sauce history and the production. And I don't know if you guys want to get into it now, visualizing if you haven't checked on YouTube this episode or you get the chance. Of course, we're making meatballs, which I can't wait to taste in just a little bit. But you guys have an amazing history with your sauce.
Mm-hmm.
So This is Carmen's baby, and I'm going to allow him to talk more about it. But the sauce was our great grandmother's recipe, and my dad, Sam Carfagna, was the one who kind of took that recipe from her and started to produce it. And he has basically he started with like a 20-gallon recipe, and he was making it in the back of the old market on 161. This is back in like the 70s, and was making it 20 gallons at a time and cording it up and then freezing it. He actually still has that original recipe.
Yeah, I wish he knew where it was.
It's locked up in the vault. I was asking him for it. I was like, hey, if you can get eyes on that, go back in the recipe vault, right?
Yeah.
Which actually exists.
Wait, do you really have a recipe vault here at Carfagna's?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, all of our family recipes and everything that we have that is on pieces of paper and whatnot, soups, sauces, sausages.
Does it go? Oh, well,
here
look
he
at
is.
this! Oh my gosh, the man himself. Have a seat.
The man, the myth, the legend, Sam Carfagna
Sam
just
Carfagna.
walked in.
Please have a seat, sir. Wow.
What do you find?
Oh my gosh, Sam!
Is that
found it.
That's the recipe.
I found it, and it is looking pretty ratty, but I got to tell you, there's sauce stains on this piece of paper here that are probably 50 plus years old.
My God.
Gotta be. All right. This is the original recipe of our pasta sauce that today is distributed in more than 29 states.
That's amazing. By the way, if you're wondering what all that chaos was, we were talking about, the sauce, and then all of a sudden, Sal and Carmen's dad comes in, and Sam Carfagna, this recipe, wait a minute. How did you got this out of the vault? Doesn't this go underground at night?
It does. It's been locked up, under a safe that is, it'll self-detonate if anybody tries to get into it.
So don't even try, Boxer. You're asking too many questions about the vault.
I'm sorry. I got a team waiting. No,
But we kept it up and kept it locked up. And every once in a while, we have to dig in there to find something, because there's a stack of recipes that just goes on and on and on. And we keep adding to it.
Sam, quick question about this. When you started the production of this recipe, how does it work in the Carfagna family? Because you have so many recipes, so many rich things that you're doing. Did you have to get permission from your grandmother?
No permission from Nonna, our grandmother. But we watched her. We lived with her. Okay, for quite a bit. 7 years of my life, we lived with them, and then we moved across the street from them, a la my big fat Greek wedding style. So every day, getting off the bus at 3 o'clock after school, my mother and father were working at the market, and we would go over to our grandmother's home and have a big meal, watch her cook. And they had a huge garden, and they would process all their own tomatoes. She grew basil like we grow shrubs around our home, She did everything by hand, her pasta making, and her recipes all came from the Abruzzo Molise region of Italy. So we're very affluent and learned in food production because it's so much over there. And the pasta making and the water from that region, which makes the pasta so wonderful. Anyhow, this recipe came from memory. Now, I had an aunt, or Zia, Mary Jean, that worked with us at the time. She is the daughter, or my father's sister, and she knew these recipes also from the back of her hand. So together, we formulated the first 20-gallon recipe. Yeah.
Now, Sam, can I ask you, and I hope this isn't a dumb question, but why number 20? Why that amount? What?
Our kettle held 25 gallon. Okay, that's why. In the market, we had a smaller double jacketed kettle, and that was the capacity. And we would hand dip it out and put it in quart containers that were to freeze, and everything was all natural. And it hasn't changed a bit today.
That's amazing, Sam. By the way, Sam Carfagna is with us. We're on Uncorked. We're talking about the history of the sauces. Sam, How old were you? Where were you when you got the idea? We need to put this into production. We need to mass market this.
Well, you know, being a one-hit wonder small market, okay, you have to put yourself in difference, you know, from everyone else. Well, being of Italian nature, and we knew that we had good products, and we felt like there was an opportunity to package these products and sell them within our own market, you know. Lo and behold, where it's taken us today. But for many years, we thought, you know, keep it frozen, keep it natural. And we found out that tomatoes is such a natural preservative because of the acidity content that jarring it was a simple method. You didn't need to add anything to it to keep it fresh and to keep it, you know, as natural as possible.
Oh, I see. So no extra preservatives, things like that to keep it.
That's correct. Okay. You know, so you really have a natural product, you have a natural preservative in the acidity of the tomato itself, and there you go. You know, starting with fresh ingredients, and we always use fresh onions, fresh garlic, olive oil, as opposed to you know, a polysaturated oil that's been rendered so often. You know, and the olive oil gives it that kind of flavor and the naturalness and the health qualities as well. You know, and just the little bit of spices we use, you know. There it is, you know. It's simple, it's delicious, and most importantly, you know, it's thick. It covers a lot of pasta, and it has body, you know, and substance to it, and that's what's made it so popular amongst everybody. It's like, my God, I take a quart of your sauce, and I've got to add a half a jar of water to it. You know what I mean? And we're like, well, you don't need to do that. You know what I mean? People will eat it with a spoon right out of the jar because it's so thick.
I love your passion for this, Sam. I just want to go swimming in a big kettle of sauce now. I mean, I don't know how that would look, but Sam, just out of curiosity, did I hear right? The number is a 500,000 jars are produced a year, or what was that, Carmen?
Oh God, I've lost count, but yeah, it's over 500,000 jars a year that we produce.
Do you guys know daily, or Sam, maybe you too? How many? What's a typical day of production? Like how many?
1,000 gallons plus. Okay, we have. You mentioned you can go swimming in it, right? Well, the kettles that you should go over and see, you know, they're 500 gallon. They're actually 600 gallon. We cook 500 at a time. Okay, and we have 2 of them going. Okay, so there's your 1,000 gallons, which would equate to 4,000 jars. Okay.
So I'm trying to get the visual here and paint a picture for those that are listening to. So we're at your manufacturing plant. We're getting ready to make, you know, one of your sauces. Let's just take the original pasta sauce. Just out of curiosity, do you have a computer that is already programmed to dump the ingredients in the kettle, Sam? Or?
Well, we have a computer that puts the cooking times and the temperatures together, but the ingredients are all massed together, and they start early in the morning around 6 a.m., and the same people that have been doing it for years are those who first dump the tomatoes. The tomatoes come in 55-gallon drums now, okay? And they're brought up with a lift, a mechanical lift that actually dumps into these huge kettles. And then they add the ingredients themselves. They start the cooking time, which is programmable and automatic, and from there, away it goes until bottling time.
So yeah, we still, the best thing about our sauce is that we still make it the same way you would make it in a kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Start with olive oil,
Yeah.
simmer onions, garlic before you add the tomatoes in. So it's not all just kind of batched and thrown in there. We make it the way you would make it in a kitchen to preserve the flavor that's made our sauce so popular for so many years. And
What makes it unique too is that cook time.
Yeah, so we say it's slow cooked, and it really is. We cook for 4 hours before we jar. And the reason why our sauce is so thick, because it's been slow cooked for so long that all the water evaporates out of it, and you get this really beautiful thick sauce that all the flavors marry together, and you get the richness and that body that my dad was talking about.
Yeah. And your sauces are nationwide in various grocery stores, correct? Am I right?
You're absolutely correct. Carmen has instrumental in taking the sales across the country for us and opening up, market after market, and we're very proud of what he's done. But he's right. I should have expanded on the fact that there's a step-by-step process. It is not just dumped together, and it's open kettle cooked, like he said. So it's a reduction as if you were at home. Whereas other manufacturers, mainly the mass-produced, they're in a closed situation, and sometimes they're in a situation where they're just heated to a point and bottled right away. And this is not done that way. So if you think of the way you prepare this sauce at home or how we started it in 20-gallon, it's the same process. It's just in a much, much larger pot.
Wow, that's amazing. And forgive me, there's just so many questions I have about manufacturing that I've never thought about before. The other one is, do you only produce sauce, if it's not in your store, of course, do you only produce what you've been ordered? Like, let's say, I don't know, Giant Eagle or someone orders a bunch of your sauce. Do you only produce what's been ordered, Sam? Or?
We definitely produce to order. So it's as fresh as can be. Okay, and yes, we have a small amount of stock for spontaneous orders, and often we get a distributor or a company that needs X amount of cases or pallets, and we have to have that much on hand. But no, by no means is there anything that's stocked away for months and months and months. It's made pretty much to order, for sure.
I'm guessing that's just a smart business move, right? Because if you have inventory just sitting there, that's not good either.
Absolutely, that's a smart business move. Yeah, and so we pride ourselves in trying to be the best small company that we can be, as far as business practices as well as production practices.
Would you say, Sam and Carmen, has this been a good extra revenue stream? Is there a lot of cost, maybe startup costs involved? Does it eventually pay for itself?
Eventually. Yeah. And it is an endeavor that is very costly, but it has a lot of upside as well. First of all, there's a tremendous future in it, because once you get to the point where we are in it, distribution, and we find that it's so well accepted wherever we sample it, it moves so quickly and becomes an item that people are asking for. They go into their grocery store and they're like, I tried this sauce, but I shop here, and I tried it over there, and can you get it here? And sooner or later, they get so many requests for it. Boom, we're getting the phone calls, and that seems to be the attrition of how we just grow, and it takes off for us in a way, and that is been something that I applaud the boys with, that they know that this is such a good item that they can take it further and further and further, and we do.
Sam Carfagna, you seem like a very open-minded. Hey, if my boys have something an idea, I'm willing to listen to it. Have they ever come to you with just a absolutely crazy idea? You're like, no, we're not doing that.
I do try to be open-minded. I think I am. They probably don't, but I think I am. And at my age, I've had trials and tribulations. We've started out, we've fallen on our face. I'll never forget the day that my brother and my partner, Dino, came to me, and he said, what are we going to do? We need to really, the grocery stores have limited space with frozen sauce. And that was our startup, was a frozen sauce. And I put it in the jar. We researched it. We talked with the authorities. There are packaging authorities on this that give you the parameters of how long a sauce will last in a jar, what you can put in it, etc. We did that research, put it in a jar, and said, what do you think? And then, boom, it took off like crazy. Because the convenience of having a jar in your pantry, as opposed to the small freezer you have under your fridge, there's limited space there. And most people, if they open their freezer, they could probably dump half the stuff out because it's been in there for so long, you know? But it is limited space, not only in your home freezer, but in the grocery store freezer. And it's expensive space, you know? And so getting it out there into the marketplace in a frozen manner was very, very difficult. Getting it in a jar, getting it out there, boom, the local foods explosion helped us, you know, and we started out and we went within. We started in Central Ohio and kept expanding. We were part of the Ohio Proud network. We branched out into local foods, you know, Cleveland, Cincy, the Dayton, you know, the larger metropolitan areas, and every smaller area, and then boom, crossed over the lines and went expand.
Sam, I think you could all probably answer this. I know we've talked about it in other episodes, just the competition, just how hard it is to have, you know, a grocery store, you know, manufacturing. You have the restaurant, for example. But would you say that and maybe especially after the pandemic, that there's a growing interest and a growing support network of all of us to want to support that local business like Carfagna's that's been a name in our backyard since 1937?
Yes, Boxer, but they want to see you. They want to see you. You know, it's so important that when you come into this store, there's Carfagna's here. You know, if that name is on the front of the building and you're behind the products that you're selling, they want to make sure, people want to see you in there and make sure that, you know, this company, yes, they're homegrown, yes, they're independent, they're quality, you know, all of the above. But when you are there backing all that words and with your face, it makes a world of difference. And we're here. And it's so important, you know, and I think that the next generation understands that because we're into 4 generations. Not easy to do, okay? Usually, you know, if you don't instill that work ethic into someone, your children, you know, then they're not going to, they're just going to think that I can ride on that, on the old man's money. And you know what? It doesn't work that way. So you instill that work ethic into them and the pride. Every one of these kids, my brother and I, we educated these kids and said, hey, look, this is not an easy industry. There's all this other stuff you can do. They did it. They went out, they worked for other people. They tried, you know, and I shouldn't say tried, they were successful at what they were doing, but there's something in the heart about being in a family business that says, I just got to be part of this, you know, and carry on that legacy, and that name is something that gives you goosebumps, you know, and the pride pours out of you and says, I want to do this. And that's what these guys are. They're all pride, and they're about keeping the tradition. They're about legacy. And you know, when you get to be my age and my brother's age, you think, you know, we don't want it to end here. This is something our grandparents started, and my father carried on. But each generation, Boxer, they got to do more because the family keeps growing, and it takes more and more and more. So what did we do? You know, we started out as a little grocer. You know, Dad moved it into a big grocer. Brother and I turned that grocery into restaurant and manufacturing. Plus, what's their legacy? Well, you know what? They know that today's markets are going with you know, you can buy online, you know, and therefore that's a new frontier that we're moving into as well. And these guys will do it because they have the passion.
Sam, I'm sorry. Sam, I was going to say that as we start to wrap up, is that the next frontier for you? Is probably a bigger investment in online ordering, or?
Well, it's one of them, and they know that you know, and I preach all the time, you can't sit on your hands in this business. So that is a frontier, but it's one, you know, and there's several others that they can venture into. There's the food trucks out there, you know, there's one of those. We just bought a trailer, and we're outfitting it, and these guys love taking it to the Buckeye games, and peddling our sausage, which has been another big item for us over the years, that those recipes. So you got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep, expansion. The sauce line, expanding it. We're on the verge of adding another larger production facility. We need to make it larger now. We don't want to lose anything. We just want to make it larger.
Boy, this has been fascinating. Sam, I'm so glad that you dropped in on this podcast. I can't thank you enough for your time. And one final question, just out of curiosity, what are family board meetings like? If I'm a fly on the wall, what are they like?
Well,
come on, don't hold back, Sam.
Probably a better answer for them, but my side of the answer is that they're tired of hearing the same thing over and over out of me. You know what I mean? Because I tend to drive into their minds. That the same rhetoric and the same story over and over. But it's so important that as a parent, you don't want your children to have to live any of the downfalls you had. Or you don't want them to have to step down a rung on the ladder. You want them to keep climbing it, But I think that you have to experience some of that defeat to be able to understand what it takes to rise. So the board meetings are not as heated as you would think, but sometimes they are, But I would like to think that they're pretty organized. And here's what I understand is that when I think that I'm smart in this business, and I've done some things that, with my brother, that we've grown this to this point, and we're very proud of that. These guys are a lot smarter than us. And when I think about that, and I think, it puts me at ease that I can walk out of here and go home a little earlier. That I can leave. I took 3 weeks vacation this year. I wouldn't have been able to do that if they weren't here. Next year, a month, I mean.
Get ready, Carmen and Sal.
So it's like, they got a good, they know what the heck they're doing, and you see it, you hear it, and they don't make rash decisions. They're well thought out. They talk it over. We talk together about it, and I'm in for a good argument. And you can win the argument with me, then you know what? You got a good chance of doing it. Yeah.
Sam Carfagna, this has been a real pleasure. I hope you stop back soon again.
Get back to work. Sorry.
Well, here, how about we taste some meatballs before you go back?
Let's taste some meatballs. Yeah, absolutely.
Boxer, you brought up a funny or a good question that says,
Thank you, sir.
What does my dad do with all of our crazy ideas we bring to him?
Yeah.
It's funny because most of the time that we bring him a crazy idea, it was his crazy idea 30 years ago. He says, I tried it, didn't work out, don't do it,
Yeah, you think
it's going to be different this time, Dad.
These old recipes back there. They got old sketches I've got and files, and the last one was, what was it, the wine... What's that wine testing thing? Salvatore, you found it in one of the files. I had the where it pushes the nitrogen in the capsule and then brings the wine out. And the Corvin, yeah. I invented that thing, okay? I just couldn't get it out,
Oh, that's too funny. All right. Well, we all have a meatball here, right, guys?
Yeah. And Dad, this is called Uncorked, so I poured you a glass of Chianti.
There you go. There you go. Salute.
That means cheers to all of them.
Did you say saluta?
I said saluta.
Saluta.
That's
Saluta.
a little more dialect from the Abruzzo region. Salute is the real word with an E at the end. But, they say mangia, it's to eat, right? Well, we say mangia. Because the elders, they had their own little twist on all the languages, just like we do, southern parts, western parts, eastern parts of our own country. Well, in the Abruzzo region, the dialects are a little bit different, and my future son-in-law, who's from the Abruzzo region, he just now sent us 95 pages of a butchered language, that is in dialect of that region. And so it's in print, and reading through there is so funny because growing up in a household where the language was spoke in dialect, and then going into school and learning in school the language in the proper form, it's a different language. It's a different language. So yeah, we say saluta, and some in the language you would speak in Milan and Rome would be salute.
The things I'm learning every time with this podcast. Sam, thank you for that. I had no idea. No idea.
Wait till you learn about this meatball. Carmen and I over here eating, and we're like, oh my goodness.
Oh my. Now,
So a couple things on
yes,
this.
yes.
Made with our meatball mix. Our meatball mix is pork and beef.
Okay.
We make it fresh here at the market daily. It's available in the butcher shop. It's $5.99 a pound. I take these are a third of a pound of meat, meatball mix, and then I stuff it with a small fresh mozzarella ball.
wow.
Cigliagine is what the size of the ball is called. So if you're looking for those mozzarella balls and what size we're using, call them cigliagine. They're the tiny little mozzarella balls.
Sam.
Show it up for the camera.
Oh my
Right here.
goodness. Delish.
Now, I fry these in olive oil. I brown all the sides, and then I prefer having them steep in vodka sauce. Why? Because number one, the meatballs, they got Parmesan cheese in there. They're stuffed with fresh mozzarella. It's already a cheesy meatball, so why not add it with our cheesy vodka sauce as well? So you get that creaminess from the mozzarella, you get the creaminess from the vodka sauce. It adds just another depth of flavor that I just absolutely love. Like I said, Carmen and I have made these for some wine events, some private dinners, and it's one of my favorite things. It's just become one of those that I'm just like. Not to mention when you have these cooking in that sauce for, like I said, a solid hour. These were in there for over an hour. I mean, they're so fork tender. They are just they fall apart on you. But because
perfect.
because you fry them, it creates a nice crust on the outside, so it locks in all those nice flavors.
Do you
And the
have,
other reason we use our vodka sauce is because it's freaking awesome.
well said, Carmen. Well said. Sal and Carmen, or Sal specifically, how long does it take, and do you have a recipe for this at carfagnas.com? How long does it take you to make meatballs, these?
So the meatball mix is already made.
Right,
So
right.
You're just
As fast as you can roll them in your hands, Boxer.
That's all it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So just buy the mix.
Buy the mix, roll it in your hands, and some people you can put them on a baking sheet and bake them. You can brown them up and throw them in sauce.
We sell them already cooked in.
We sell them already cooked and frozen
Yeah.
as well.
Sauce
Yeah,
as well, cooked in sauce.
we sell them a lot of different ways. We got them in pans of 40 with sauce and cheese on them that you can just throw right
Wait.
in your oven.
You have the sauce already with them on that's you have
We
that
do.
as a version?
We got two different sizes, Boxer. We have multiple different sizes.
Yeah.
Frozen, we've got a small 32-ounce container that's got 6 meatballs and sauce. And then we have a family party pack that's got 40 meatballs and sauce in a half pan that you can throw right in your oven. And then our prepared foods has them in 3 different sizes as well, and you can get them by the pound. And then we also have them in our freezer section unsauced, just frozen, ready to go, and you can throw those right in sauce and let them heat up. Or you could bake them and warm them up in an oven, however which way you want to do them.
And another reason why we chose the meatballs for this podcast is because the meatballs are one of those items that is also made at our manufacturing facility. We did the math, okay, based off of a 2-ounce and 1-ounce meatballs. So our regular size meatball and the appetizer size meatballs. And the meatballs are only sold at this location, but we are manufacturing over 1 million meatballs annually at that manufacturing facility.
That's amazing.
And
Exhausting to think about, but
Yeah.
it is pretty remarkable.
How does this rate with some of your top selling items at Carfagna's, the meatballs? Where does it rank?
meatballs are prepared foods wise. Meatballs are always up there, top 5 item in our prepared foods. Specialty grocery, the frozen meatballs, again, top 5 week in and week out. Meatball mix, fresh meatball mix, that is in our fresh meat.
Yeah.
That's about a top 10 item week in and week out. So,
And spaghetti and meatballs at the restaurant is our #1 selling item.
So my wife and I, my family really in general, we shop here anyway, but I need to add the meatballs to the list for the holidays because we buy a big spread from you every holiday season. I have to add the meatballs to it.
Yeah.
And I'll just why not get the frozen ones? Especially
You can get the frozen ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's time saving, you can do that. If you got a big party, get the pan of 40 meatballs and get a couple dozen hard rolls, and you got meatball subs for everybody. But if you got time, it's just you and your wife at home, you want to make spaghetti and meatballs, get the meatball mix. I love our meatball mix because then I could take them, like Sal says, brown them, fry them in olive oil, throw them right in your sauce, and let them flavor that sauce, and makes a world of difference.
So a moron like me can do this too? The
Moron like you
meatball
can
mix?
do it, Boxer, yes.
All right. You believe in me.
I want to add something, though. My brother-in-law, Tom, started this years ago, but he takes this fresh meatball mix that we sell in the meat department, and it's ready to go. It's in the bulk. He forms it into a patty and grills them on the charcoal grill and makes a burger out of it, and it is fantastic.
They're incredible.
Puts a piece of provolone cheese over the top, melts it down, makes it like a cheeseburger. It is a fantastic sandwich, and what a burger, And we push that often, I'm saying, and have our meat staff, let people know because it's such a popular item. Like you said, it's in the top 10, and you gotta try it sometime.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list now for sure. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Sal. I know the next time around, the next episode will probably be hitting, I'm guessing, Parmageddon a little bit. You wanted to hit the wine?
yeah, absolutely. So the wine that we're pairing with this, again, Casa Emma. Casa Emma is named after the owner of the winery, Emma Lepri. And this is a Chianti Classico 100% Sangiovese. Why are we choosing this for this? Sangiovese especially pairs really well with #1 meats, but then also #2 marinara sauces, pasta sauces, red tomato-based sauces. The acidity that's in the tomatoes plays really well with the acidity that's in the Sangiovese. It really brings out the fruit that is in that Sangiovese, so you get to taste the wine at a whole other, more of a depth, right? That you get in there, a little bit more of that complexity comes out.
Yeah.
The acidities play on each other. And this wine here, Casa Emma, has been growing very, very popular in our wine shop. For those of you guys who are looking, it's got a very unique label. There is a goose on that label. Like, apparently, there is a flock of geese that live at the winery. And it's an all-organic wine and made old world style in Chianti Classico. And $35 retail for that bottle. And again, our wine shop, you can go in there, you can get the bottle, you can bring it into the restaurant, you can open it here, you can enjoy it while you're shopping, or take it home and enjoy it with some mozzarella stuffed meatballs.
Very nice. A reminder, you can get recipes and more at carfagnas.com. You can see the video version of this if you're not already doing so. Of course, you can always, the podcast itself lives on the iHeartRadio app. Just search for Uncorked, but search Uncorked and Carfagnas on the YouTube page. You guys have your own YouTube channel, so.
That's right, Boxer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the plug.
Thank you, guys. And Sal, I guess without further ado, you can take it away. Thanks for this deliciousness today. Appreciate it. Until next time.
Of course, Boxer. Thank you, and mangia bene.